There have once again been significant changes to Slayer, and this is the best time to talk about point boosting. Not only do we need a lot more points than we did before with all the block lists we need to set up, but there has also been a significant meta change in how to point boost for the most points per hour. There are two ways you can point boost in old school RuneScape. The first way is the primary way. This is where you're doing a bunch of easy tasks followed by a regular Slayer Master task at certain intervals. The second way is a little less popular, but definitely good if you plan on doing Wilderness. With Wilderness, what you can do is target very specific tasks, and then if you don't get the task, you can use Turael to skip. The difference between using Turael to skip with Wilderness versus other Slayer Masters is it doesn't reset your normal task streak. This means if you're farming something like Revs, for example, you can use Turael to skip for them, but you're still building up a streak in the background. So when I was doing my Rev grind, I'd do a couple Rev tasks, but eventually I'd have a streak of 50 or 100, and I definitely would take a break to do a quick Konar task for a ton of points. This is obviously going to be a lot slower than doing regular boosting, but it is a good alternative if you're doing Wilderness Slayer, specifically though when you're hunting for only a few tasks. But that's all I wanted to bring up when it comes to Wilderness point boosting. For the rest of the video, we're going to talk about primary point boosting. Whether you're new to point boosting or you're experienced with it, you're going to want to watch the rest of this because there's been significant changes to how you're going to be point boosting, and it's a lot more points per hour. The information you'll find related to Turael boosting online is largely antiquated if you're looking at Reddit threads, YouTube videos. This is because Slayer has been updated a number of times, but the strategy of point boosting, people haven't adjusted. And with these recent changes, oh man, we need some huge adjustment. So what people used to do is they would do Turael for 9 tasks, and then on the 10th task you do your best master. What was actually faster was doing 49 Turael tasks followed by every 50 tasks at Konar. This was largely relevant when they reduced the amount of creatures you get from Turael, making Turael better. But with these Slayer changes having its own block list, that's gotten even faster, and to do 49 tasks takes about 15 minutes shorter than it did previously. That all being said though, a new challenger has approached that has completely changed the way you're going to point boost in old school RuneScape. Let's talk about Mazchna. Apparently that's how you say it according to the wiki, but we'll just call him Maz for simplicity. Maz has a couple changes that have really piqued my ears in terms of how we could potentially use this guy for point boosting. The first change, same as every other master, he has his own block list now. Costs 50 points to block, so it's not too bad. Now, what I really like about this change for Maz specifically is you wouldn't block any of these tasks if you only had one universal list, because you just move on to other masters and there's more valuable blocks. This though, because we can set up our own block list, we can get rid of some very bad tasks that he has, such as Mogres, for example. This makes it so that when you set up his block list, it actually looks sort of similar to Turael. You're doing very similar tasks. I was doing Turael tasks every about minute and 25 seconds, where with Maz, I was doing every 2 minutes and 30 seconds for his tasks. So not even double the amount of time required to do each of his tasks. The other change, which is the definitely major change when it comes to point boosting, has to do with his point rebalance. He can now give you 6 points per task instead of 2. That is a triple increase in points per task. And this also affects his streaks. Every 10, you get 30 instead of 10. When you combine the fact that his points have actually gotten a lot better and you can set up a block list for him, is there a possibility where we can use him instead of Turael for point boosting? In order to answer this question, we had to do some testing and some math, and I did 3 different strategies for boosting: Turael boosting, mass boosting, and a mixed method I'll explain in a minute. With Turael boosting, I do 49 tasks at Turael and every 50 tasks at Konar. Over 250 tasks, you're looking at about 260 or so points per hour, which is better than it was previously because we have a Turael block list. Those have begun a lot quicker, the process is sped up. Maz boosting, once I had my block list set up, I was able to get about 320 points per hour. So new meta is already awoken. That is about 60 points per hour more than Turael boosting. But before we talk about this method, let's talk about the mixed method, the last approach. This is where I would do Turael for 9 tasks, and I do Maz every 10 tasks and Konar every 50. averaged over 250 tasks, I was actually getting pretty much the same amount of points per hour as purely doing mass, about 320 points per hour. So these two methods, they're very similar points per hour, but that's based on 250 tasks. If you're only going to do 50 or 100 tasks and then cancel to do something else, well, we need to factor that in because it actually disproportionately affects one method more than the other. The mixed boosting method, obviously more your points are tied to those big thresholds of 50, especially the 250 threshold. If you don't get to that point, then yeah, you're losing out a lot of extra points. Whereas the mass boosting method, you're getting points throughout and you're going slower. And when you hit those thresholds, yeah, you're getting the same amount of points, but you've kind of diversified your points a little bit more. So if you don't end up reaching that 250 streak, it's not going to be as detrimental. So overall, this method ends up being more points per hour if you're not getting to 250. I guess to some extent, if you're planning to just get to 250 and stop, you're going to obviously get there quicker with mixed boosting. So that's something to factor in there. But when it comes to this whole streak philosophy, I think generally mass boosting could be better for a lot of people. And you could honestly just go back and forth. If you start getting close to 250, but you're getting a little bit burned out from doing mass boosting, just switch over to Turael knowing that you're going to hit it for sure. And then you can cancel your streak after that if you want. But going back to mass boosting here, there's also a couple other reasons why I think this could be an option, specifically for people who are lower in their Slayer progression. First thing, again, has to do with the boosts, the 50 boosts. If you're not at the point where you're going to be doing Konar and you're maybe doing like Neve or Chalder instead for your boost, well, again, those streaks matter less for mass boosting than they do for mixed boosting. So this is going to be in your interest to do mass boosting instead. Also on the thread of low-level Slayer, if you're just trying to unlock things and block things, getting points all the time is going to help you do that quicker and take advantage of getting those unlocks quicker. To give you some perspective here, you are getting, 84 points every 10 tasks, which is incredible, and you're getting that right away as well, which is going to feel really good. And then the last point as to why you might do this, again, related to low-level Slayer or someone who doesn't have max efficiency yet, if you don't have fantastic teleport options to all the Turael locations and all the Maz locations, well, that's also going to make an impact here. If it takes you longer to get to a location, then the total time to complete a task, the difference between Turael and Maz, kind of shrinks a little bit, making it better to do mass boosting because you're spending less time teleporting and running. For the mixed method approach, I think this is going to be very popular for a lot of players because it feels very similar to Turael boosting, so it's familiar. They're going to be able to do 9 Turael tasks, 1 mass task, and overall to get to 250 tasks, it's going to be a lot quicker. So if your goal is to get to 250 to really cash in your points as quickly as possible, you'll want to go with this method. Yes, it is not as fast as straight Turael boosting, but you're only adding over the course of 9 hours, about a half an hour, 40 minutes more of extra work, but you're getting 600 more points as a result. So 100% worth it to do that. I think people who are going to be doing Konar every 50 and they have great teleport options, this is going to be a very attractive option. That was a lot of information, so let's do a very quick recap. Turael boosting as is completely dead. Do not do that anymore. It is less points than the other methods. If you want something very similar and simple to migrate over to, do the mixed method, which is 9 Turael tasks, Maz every 10, Konar every 50. If you're looking to get a little bit more diversification in your points, less importance on hitting the 250 streak, less importance on doing Konar specifically on the 50s, you could just do Maz boosting, which will end up being more points with those stipulations in mind. It's going to be great for that, and it's going to be great for low-level Slayer. If you're a max player, really, you could choose either mixed or straight Maz boosting, depending on where you are in your streak. And honestly, you can just go back and forth so that you can hit the streak when you want to hit it and then cancel after that. When it comes to your gear and inventory, you'll want to shoot for something like this. Now, this is a little bit more max efficiency minded, so if you're a lower level Slayer, I got you covered there, don't worry. But some items you definitely want on pretty much all accounts. The cannon is extremely valuable for speeding up tasks. Expeditious bracelets, you always want those on. You'll also need bags of salt to take out rock slugs because they're not worth the block slot. It's still a fast task even with that. So you'll need to turn on that reward as well, but I think it only costs 10 points to auto salt them. So definitely turn that on. We're not going to cover all the teleports here right now, but you'll see in the next section when we're going over the tasks where you can use each teleport. But if you don't have all these options, honestly, access to a fairy ring is going to get you to pretty much every task here anyways, and some of the teleports are pretty easy to get. And of course, you want the runes to cast contact NPC, because every single time we finish a task, basically where we're standing, we're going to contact either Maz or Turael, depending on your method. For Maz's block list, you're going to want to block Mogres, Shades, Ice Warriors, and Kilowatts for sure. Those 4 tasks are not great. They're slow, and they also have annoying things about them, like Mogres, you need fishing explosives, and they take a long time to spawn as well. Shades, you can get up to 70 Shades, where all of their tasks are a max of 50, some as low as 20, so getting 70 of these is going to slow you down big time. Plus, you have to like click on them twice when you attack them, which is strange. Ice Warriors, kind of similar. There's no great spots for these, but you can also get between 40 and 50, where all of their tasks seem to be between 30 and 50 or less. So it's just weird that these are always high rolled as well. And then Kilowatts, I mean, not a great spot. You have to bring insulated boots potentially. If you don't bring them, you got to go through a warning message, which takes time, and you can get chunked out. Like if you get high rolled, you'll have to flick and stuff like that. It's just not a great task. For your remaining up to 3 slots, I would recommend blocking 3 of the following 5 options here: Catabel Pawn, Cockatrice, Skeletons, Wall Beasts, and Dogs. So it might be preference. I recommend maybe testing each of them. Now for lower accounts, you might not block maybe Cockatrice and Wall Beasts because they might be decent for you, especially if you're not cannoning all your tasks. For max accounts, maybe test out Wall Beasts. You might find those okay because you only get between 10 and 20, but they do have 105 HP. And you might want to also try out Catabel Pawns. Maybe you prefer those over Dogs or Skeletons. So definitely play around a little bit, but those are all great options. And for Turael's block list, if you're doing the mixed method, we have a little more experience here in terms of what's bad. Lizards are very slow. You either need to do them in the desert with ice coolers or Mount Karloom, where they have 50 HP each. Some people don't mind doing this one. If you're standing outside of the door of Mount Karloom, it can be a little bit fast, but still good block here. Bears are slow, dogs are slow, skeletons are slow, and wolves are slow. For the last couple slots, you can choose anything between bats, calfights, banshees, monkeys, and dwarves, depending on which ones you don't like or are slow for you. Now, a lot of these tasks are similar to Turael tasks, so if you're doing the mixed method, you'll have a lot of them covered here. But if you need a full list of Turael tasks and where to do them, you can either look at the wiki or my Imbued Heart Guide will show you all the Turael task locations. The Ring of the Elements will use the water teleport for cave bugs, cave slimes, and wall beasts. Cave bugs, there's only a few here in the entrance. Make sure you continue down the cave once you take out those, where you'll start finding about 7 cave bugs you can take out to finish your task. Cave slimes are right here in the other room, and the wall beasts are in this room as well. You'll want to take out these 2 by going back and forth. The fire teleport gives you access to scorpions. Just come in here and place down your cannon. And the earth teleport gives you access to bats. Bats are kind of far apart, so I recommend using a long-range weapon here and taking out the bats that the cannon isn't hitting. Rada's Blessing will get you to lizards. Head into the dungeon, go to the 2nd floor, place your cannon in the room, and then go by the entrance so that the cannon will kind of have a multi-effect here. The Karen teleport, or the Achievement Cave teleport, gets you to the Catacombs of Karen, where you can do skeletons on the west side and ghosts on the east side. The Ectophile will get you to zombies, where you take out undead chickens and cows. Morty Leg 3s will get you to vampires. This is a quick task. Just place down your cannon once again. Now, don't turn on More at Stake for this task, or you'll get hundreds of vampires. We do not want that, so turn that off while boosting with Maz. The Seed Pod, head to the Grand Tree, right-click top level, and go to White Wolf Mountain to do your wolf tasks. The Skull Scepter, you can do flesh crawlers. You're going to have to go to the 2nd floor. Make sure you take the shortcuts here. And then head into this room here on the west side, where there's a lot of flesh crawlers, and they only have 25 HP, and you only do between 15 and 25, so great task. The Cattlebell Pawns, you'll need to go 1 level deeper and head into the small room where there's just cattle pawns. Otherwise, you might take aggro from other things like spiders. The Desert 4 Amulet will get you to Calfights really quickly, and the Giant Soul Amulet will give you the Ice Warriors, but most people should have that block. The rest of the teleports are basically either done with the Slayer Rings or Fairy Rings. For the Slayer Rings, The Slayer Tower will get you Crawling Hands, Banshees, and Ghouls. For Banshees, just exit the Slayer Tower and there's a broken window to get a shortcut there. And for Ghouls, they're just outside of the Slayer Tower. Then you have the Fremennik teleport, which gets you the Cave Crawlers and Rock Slugs, and of course the Cockatrice, but those are probably blocked as well. Also the Pendant of Atez or 8s, that can be used to get to the Ice Slayer dungeon, where you can do Cave Crawlers here instead because it's in multi. The remaining teleports are all fairy rings, which I'll put on the screen. You got ghouls that you can cannon. Crabs, you'll have to go to the savannah and then head south here and aggro the crabs manually, but you can do a lot at once, especially with Venator Bow. Otherwise, you're going to have to AFK a little bit here. You can't use a cannon against crabs. You've got dogs with the Narda fairy ring. Hill giants, you're using Chasm of Fire heading south to the giant's pit here. Just make sure you kind of hide away here so the hill giants aren't hitting you constantly, allowing your cannon to have that multi effect. Hobgoblins is a fairy ring to the Vinery in Hosidius. You're going to head to the peninsula to the north, place down a cannon, and it's a pretty good task. Bears are done south of Chambers. Place down a cannon and focus on taking out the cubs, but really you're waiting for respawn times here. And then the Isle of Souls fairy ring will get you to Pyrofiends, where once again, you place down a cannon. You could consider bringing like a Scorching Bow here, but it is an extra inventory spot. That is everything you need to know about the new meta for point boosting in old school RuneScape. I've been creating multiple videos related to these Slayer changes. If you're an endgame Iron Man and you're looking to get your heart, I have an updated imbued heart guide that can get you it in about 70 to 80 hours at max efficiency. You can also stay tuned and see a video related to how you can set up each of your Slayer Masters for different types of roles.